Hi there. So there is a lot going on in the world right now. And now, probably more than ever, it is so helpful to have a place that is supportive, encouraging, and really a safe haven that you can return to each day. And not just when times are in crisis or when there's struggle or difficulty, but also when times are calm and even, so that you have a good sense of what you would enjoy and how you want to spend your time. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to have the perfect family or the perfect friend group or work environment in order to have that safe space. You can build a home within yourself that you can return to and get refreshed daily. Most of us were never taught how to be a resource for ourselves. And if your sense of peace and calm and security rests on what's happening around you, then you'll be subject to the whims and the winds of your government, of the people around you and their moods, those dogs barking outside right now, or even the weather. You ever woke up feeling just okay and then you see nothing but gray sky and clouds and you're like, just a little bit worse? It's not uncommon. I've done it. And then, when times are really uncomfortable and you're feeling a lot of discomfort on the inside, you don't really want to be aware of it. And so the easy thing to do is to endlessly scroll and try to numb out so that you won't feel what's going on. So when I talk about being a safe space, I'm not talking about a location. I'm talking about a felt sense in your mind and in your body. But if we've been conditioned to look for that safety in external things, when everything on the outside is not calm, we're left scrambling. But you can become that reliable resource for yourself. And today I'm going to talk about 3 ways to get you started moving down on that path. The first thing you can do is to strengthen your ability to trust yourself. If you struggle with self trust, that makes decisions and choosing the best path for yourself really difficult. That can look like second guessing, over explaining, needing constant reassurance, just a general sense of not wanting to face life alone or helplessness. And that can come from several different places. Perhaps you've made decisions in the past that you regret and that make you feel sad when you think about them. And so when you go to try to do something else or make a new decision, you're thinking, why bother? I couldn't figure that out. How am I going to figure, the next thing out? What if I run into a difficulty? I couldn't untangle that before. So those feelings are very uncomfortable. And so it could come from decisions that you've made. But most people, if you trace it back farther, who struggle with self-trust, it's because they grew up believing that their instincts or experiencing that their instincts were not safe to follow. So whether they tried to trust themselves and make a decision or do something small and they were invalidated, their decisions were dismissed. They were written off as something silly or dumb or stupid. So that causes emotional pain that you want to avoid. And so when you get older, you avoid making decisions that would cause someone to reflect that same thing back to you, that you are incompetent or not able, or you make poor decisions. Or maybe your instinct was telling you to protect yourself in a physical way, but yet you were in a physically unsafe environment and someone hurt you. Someone was threatening to hurt you. That could cause you to second guess and be hypervigilant and look over your shoulder and look for the external cues to guide you. Nothing wrong with that. That's not your fault. So what you want instead as an adult is to build that solid foundation where you know that you have your own back. And so the relationships around you add to your life in a partnership versus completing you. So it's not hyper independence, nor is it being overly dependent on other people. I think a lot of times when we see someone who is strong and who clearly trusts themselves, we perceive them to be extra strong and very independent and kind of on their own sometimes. But that's not reality. The real definition of strength is someone who is responsible for their own gifts, interests, happiness, yes, but they also know when to ask for help. We're human beings. We were created for community. We thrive in community. Interdependence, where you are responsible for your own lane, but yet because you're a human being, You need someone to reassure you at times, to reflect things back to you at times, to have fun with, to laugh with, to give you good feedback. So no one exists as an island. What I see with people and some people that I've had the privilege of supporting is that that strategy of learned helplessness, learned weakness is a survival strategy that they taught themselves in their younger years to be able to adapt to an environment where they didn't feel or they weren't properly cared for. And so if you make yourself small or weak, someone might show up to help you. And if they do, it then closes that loop for you in your mind and proves to you that you are worthy of care. But moving toward health looks like recognizing other people as, again, partners versus being saviors. And in the same way with hyper independence, never depending on someone, that comes from experiencing too many times in the past when you were younger, when you needed someone and they weren't there, or when you needed someone and they depended on you. So you didn't get the experience of what it was like to depend and be depended upon and depend and be dependent upon. You didn't get that healthy oscillation. It was mostly the weight was put onto your shoulders. So you might project your own desire to be helped onto other people who appear to be helpless. And you get to experience through them that feeling of relief and of rescue. And so health for you begins with seeing yourself as human and someone who has needs. And so that you can begin to look at other people as being capable and seeing them as equal partners in life versus dependents. So if you want to start moving towards real strength, where you can trust yourself and trust your decisions and not be so moved by what other people are saying or what other people might need, real strength and interdependence, the first step is always going to be to notice your patterns. Awareness is not the whole pie, but it is the necessary first bite, if you will, in any kind of healing. If you want to move towards any kind of change, you have to first be aware of where you are. And I recommend putting a bit of structure around this. So mark on your calendar today for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm going to pay attention to the times when I don't trust myself. When I notice myself leaning toward other people or needing external approval, paying attention. And then once you spent some time paying attention, you want to have compassion. Those 2 steps might seem so small, but self-compassion for your patterns is one way to begin unraveling them. You want to develop that muscle of noticing yourself doing something that you don't want to do. And instead of reacting with judgment, do your best to react with kindness and patience and understanding. So just those those 2 steps will begin to move you toward a more self-trusting place. The second way you can begin to come home to yourself and be that safe space is to learn how to stay with yourself during a crisis. There's something about a hard time or a struggle that makes all of us want to do whatever we can to seek relief. We do it through finding a person, through scrolling, through eating, many different ways. And depending on how you grew up and what patterns you learned to protect yourself, it could be really hard to stay with yourself when there's a storm. So you get that letter in the mail that says, surprise, you owe an extra $100, an extra few $1,000 towards something that you hadn't planned for. Ugh, what do you notice? What do you feel? You hear through the grapevine that your ex got married, or you get a call from your child's school with some really bad news, maybe the worst possible news. It's very easy during those times to leave yourself and to abandon. But what you want to do instead, and this takes practice, it takes training. What you want to do instead is do what I call find the pocket. In every crisis, there is a small window, a pocket that if you catch it, you won't spiral into oblivion and have to do the hard work to bring your mental health back. And so the fastest way to connect and find that pocket of wisdom is to take care of yourself physically. And it sounds simple, but if you just got that phone call, if you just opened that letter and you know that your favorite ice cream cones in the fridge, in the freezer, go ahead and have you a bite. If your favorite show just, came back on last night and a fresh episode's waiting for you, put on about 10 minutes of it. maybe 15. Do something that would make you happy in the most illogical of times. Believe me, I know how silly that sounds, how wasteful that sounds. The clock is ticking. The problem isn't going anywhere. If you can just take a moment and find the pause, that will reconnect you back to your logic and to your wisdom and to your reason. Take a moment to tend to your external world. And that could also look like routine. If you had a plan, you just got home, that letter, and you still had a plan to clean this or move this around and go fix this, go do that. Stay with the routine. Treat yourself like everything is okay just for a few minutes and give that steam nowhere important to go, if that makes sense. Give that frustration, that worry, non-access to the parts of your mind that you need. I'm sure there was an easier way for me to say that, but hopefully you understand what I was trying to communicate. That pocket communicates peace and safety to yourself, to your inner child, and to your feelings. And so you know that it's safe to remain and stay with yourself rather than trying to escape and run and numb. An example of this is during my healing journey, there were a few times when I got sick. And there was one time I'm thinking about where my doctor did not know what was going on. I had all kinds of tests, and she prescribed different things, and they didn't work, and it was frustrating. And the whole time when I was panicking, because one of the issues I was having was a respiratory challenge, and I couldn't breathe easily at night. We tested for sleep apnea. No, that wasn't it. One of the things that was happening while I was going 4 or 5 weeks trying to find answers is I heard a voice in my mind saying, "You're having a lot of fear. Why don't you try expressing that?" I'm a slow learner, or I was a slow learner when it came to the healing of my body. I sat down one time, went back into myself. I spent weeks abandoning, having left in a crisis because it was uncomfortable to feel all that fear. And so I sat with it. I expressed, I'm terrified. What if this is permanent damage? What if? And I what if'd my way right into my pocket, right into wisdom. And within minutes, I had an idea. Why don't you try some garlic? And I'm not a, holistic anything, but I know that garlic helps with like infections sometimes or an antiviral. I got some garlic, ate it. Delicious, by the way. And I was breathing easier that night. And I said, I'm going to call my doctor and ask for an antibiotic. I did, and I was fine. The whole thing cleared up. I was able to breathe just fine. But even though it took me a while, the pocket never went away. I just struggled. My fears dragged me for 5 weeks. And so I got things together, and I realized, Erna, you can stay with yourself. You don't have to leave, even when you're so scared. Take a moment. If I had done that earlier, taken a moment and paused, treated myself to something that made me happy, I could have heard that wisdom, very early on. All good, I learned. The third way that I'm going to discuss that you can begin to come home to yourself and be your own safe space, perhaps the most important step that you can do, is to become your own healer and to get in the driver's seat of your healing process. And what I mean by that is taking your next available step in that direction. Because I guarantee you, if you're watching this video and you're interested in these kinds of things, there's a next step for you to be able to experience more relief and more healing. Because whether life is a struggle, you're dealing with difficulty, or if things are calm, the only way to make your inside and being with yourself a less hostile place, a more desirable place to be, is to take the time to uproot the wounds, the beliefs, and the traumas that are in there, the beliefs that are in there saying things that are making it uncomfortable. And if you can take that next step, you can begin to create an internal environment that is welcoming, happy to see you, and safe no matter what you're experiencing. And when I say being your own healer, I don't mean healing exclusively by yourself. The most effective and most time-saving way to do it is in community, either with a group or with your partner or with a trusted professional. But as far as making yourself a home and being able to come home to yourself, healing what's there is going to be your best defense to building that self trust and to being able to stay with yourself and not self abandon when times are difficult. And ultimately, if you follow your next step and the step after that and the steps after that, you will find reliable tools. You'll find something that sparks your interest that you just know, ooh, that's for me. Whether it's a book that you've read before that you're just curious about, you know what, I think I kind of want to go back and reread that book. Or if there's a YouTube video you've been meaning to watch, if you've purchased, people purchase coaching all the time, coaching programs that they work independently. If you have one and you just know, you know what, it worked for me when I first got it, I feel like I want to try it again. Or if there's a professional that you watch on Instagram, but you haven't reached out and see what they have to offer, that's your next step. Because you want to put yourself in the position where while you're in community, you have the ability to tend to yourself whenever you need to, where you're not dependent on, oh, my call time is this day and I can't do anything as far as this problem I'm having right now until then. You want to be able to be independent in that way. And it's truly only something that you can do. You're not responsible for that pain. You didn't cause the damage to yourself, but only you can bring the restoration and the healing that you're looking for. And so you want to do that through consistency. If you take your next step, it'll reveal to you what's after that. And it will bring you, like I said, to those tools. And with those tools, you can consistently bring yourself relief versus a sporadic here and there, breakthrough. And once you build up a few weeks of that consistency, it's powerful. You'll know that no matter what you're experiencing, where you are, you can take care of yourself. One of my clients describes it as having an anything card in your wallet, so that no matter where he is, he knows that, you know what, just give me a few minutes. I can use some tools. It doesn't matter what news I just heard or what I'm going through. He said he can take care of himself. And that's what you're looking for. Whatever your next step is, eventually it will lead you to something that's consistent for you or that can be there for you consistently. And building with that kind of consistency really does solidify your self-trust and your sense of, I know I've got me and I'm safe to be with me no matter what I'm feeling because there's a solution. I don't have to just sit there and suffer. And I just want to add here, I know there's a lot of talk about healing fatigue and always working on yourself. I'm just going to say it. I built this channel. One of my values is just saying it. People who are tired of climbing the healing mountain or they feel like self-improvement is just always going on, always happening, it's because what they're doing is actually managing their symptoms. Actual healing where you were one way one day and you are a different way the next day or the next week, that never gets old. I'm gonna tell you right now, that doesn't get old. That's exhilarating. Seeing yourself being able to do things that you've never been able to do before on a regular basis, that is really cool. The people who are tired of healing, it's really just symptom management. And so keep that in mind as you notice, oh gosh, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of, there's always something. If you're just moving around the dust on the table and not actually wiping it off, you're right, it never gets shiny. And then there's always something. So I just want to put that out there so that you are aware when you are a few weeks into working with your tools or with your book or whatever you've chosen, if you notice nothing's happening yet, keep looking. Because the support that you need that's consistent and reliable does exist. So if there's a next step that you already are aware of, that you're already curious about, go for it. Don't wait. You don't have to wait for the perfect time, because here's the thing. If you're having a difficulty that you want to resolve, that's your sign to take some action in terms of taking care of yourself and begin the healing work on yourself. I promise you, friend, if you are experiencing any kind of struggle, it's there because it wants your attention. It's there to be cleared. It's there to be healed. So again, if you have that book already saved or you're curious about that video, go watch it. Go read it. Or maybe you're curious about the program that I offer. And so your next step is just to go to the link below and just to read the description. That's it. And see how it feels for you. See how it lands. Regardless of whatever your next step is, there is one. You're never in a problem abandoned, my friend. Your higher self, the divine source, has communicated or dropped a little something for you to be curious about, for you to check out, and that would bring you relief. And if you're watching this video, I know that you're already very interested in healing yourself and in seeing that growth, and that is to be congratulated because that's something that is under celebrated, in my opinion. And it's also a powerful way to have an impact on the world. So, what is that next step? Is it that book or that podcast? Is it marking on your calendar? Okay, I'm going to notice from now for 2 weeks when I don't trust myself. I'm going to pay attention to that pattern and I'm going to give myself compassion each and every time. Is that your next step? Maybe it's making a note on your phone to say, do these 3 things in a crisis. Eat a cookie, watch this funny video, and whatever your third thing could be. Is it reaching out to that expert that you think might be able to take you where you're trying to go? Whatever it is, big or small, I encourage you to take it. Show yourself that care. Show yourself that I got you energy. If you feel comfortable, please share in the comments. I read them. I'd be more than happy to read what you are inspired to do. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad you're here. So glad you watched. And I'll see you next time.